Back, Matt Stein, Matt Starrell, the Guru Johnson. Let's get right to it. He writes for The Athletic, and he chips in here when we can get him here, courtesy of the Bud Light guest line. All guests appear on the Bud Light guest line. Bud Light, easy to drink, easy to enjoy. Sam Amick. Sam, how you doing, man? Long time no talk. Hope you're doing well.
Steiny and Guru, thank you for having me, guys. Likewise, I hope life is treating you well. I'm in the car. Hopefully I'm coming through okay, but appreciate you guys having me.
Yeah, loud and clear.
Sam.
Obviously, you were one of three bylines on the story in The Athletic about Bob Myers. If somebody's listening and all they know is, Bob's not under contract for next year, how would you kind of summarize what you think is going on here?
To me, there's layers to it, but not surprisingly, the first one you certainly focus on and highlight is the money factor. Bob, and we don't pick sides, obviously, when we report these stories, but I'd be lying if I didn't admit I certainly see his side of it, which is, when you win 4 championships as the top executive, I think it's pretty fair to expect to be one of the highest paid guys in the league or executives in the league, if not the highest. And that's where the money side is an interesting debate because, Joe Lacob had gone on the podcast with our Tim Kawakami and said publicly that Bob was currently already a top 3 paid GM in the league with his current contract. And the reality is, on the other side, that's just not how we were told that Bob sees it. And that, and as far as front office salaries, that, he's in the upper echelon, but you might be talking about top 6, top 8. So, money is part of it, and it's just you talk to people who love Bob, respect Bob. It's just a matter of kind of respect, like they think that he deserves his just due, given the role he's played. But from there, you could take it a bunch of different directions. You've got relationship stuff with his Warriors team, potentially facing a real difficult transition time if the playoffs don't go the way they're hoping they go, and only Bob knows how he feels about the possibility of being part of that.
Sam, I totally agree. And I was just telling Steiny and the listeners, you talked about it. You used the word relationships. Like, Curry and Draymond gravitate to Bob. And it's like, if you were to allow Bob to go, you're sending messages to those guys that have been a fixture of this dynasty. The Warriors currently are 23-24. They're human. And, Sam, can I ask you, why do you think the team's 23-24? And do you think trouble's ahead?
Well, the injury stuff obviously is the biggest thing with Steph being out and whatnot, and then you got, to me, Clay coming out of the offseason, and one of the more unique situations for a player that I've ever run into where, he comes back from these 2 devastating injuries. He has an impact on basketball's biggest stage in the finals, and he'll rattle off his stats to you about the postseason at large, that he hit shots and he was a major part of what they accomplished. And then to have him, to learn that he didn't play 5-on-5 in the summer and that he wasn't ready to go do his thing again, and he got off to a slow start. Then you got the integration of all these young guys. Joe and their group was extremely bold with the attempt to have 2 timelines during a time when you were obviously at championship level. And for now, it is not working. It has not worked. And it makes the trade deadline certainly pretty compelling for them a couple weeks from now because, Steph Curry on down, the old heads of this group remain in win-now mode, and they don't want to let this opportunity pass. So, it's all those things, and defensively, they're not the same team. The role players they lost, that played a part. So a lot of layers to it again, but not the same team we thought we'd see.
Sam Amick joining us on 95.7 The Game. Let me ask you this, with the trade deadline coming up, if you're another team and you're looking at the Warriors, is there an overlap? Is there any player that both you want and that the Warriors would part with?
I can't speak for those guys. The Moody situation, you continue to hear that they're committed to him, but then in terms of how he gets used, it's kind of one of those actions speak louder than words type of thing. So what's the shelf life there? Kuminga, and this is the media guy in me, to see Kuminga do a pretty extensive interview this week where he shared his perspective and his thoughts on his situation I mean, it's only natural for him to do that, but it also makes you wonder, like, is he getting itchy? Like you want to tell the world, like, I can do a lot more than this. So, duplication-wise and in terms of guys that the Warriors might be willing to give up, I don't know if those guys check the box, but, they've got plenty of guys they can have conversations about. And, and they do also have the leverage that comes with, the ability to stand pat if they want to. They can wait and see how things look in the summer, but I think they're going to be pretty vocal on the phone.
Sam, Steiny and I got a bet, and I got to be careful here because I watch a lot of NBA, the League Pass, and I come in every other day, and I'm telling Steiny if it's not load management, it's everybody just jacking threes that can't shoot team-wide. And I just feel like the league is down this year, and the Warriors have that pedigree. And I'm like, give me a team, Steiny. Denver, Memphis. I don't think Memphis is buttoned up. They can beat them 4 out of 7. Do you say, you know what, Guru, that's a nice take on that? I'm not, like, where are you at with the Warriors and their chances of going back-to-back?
No, Guru, I don't blame you for that at all. And I think I largely agree. I actually just got back from Denver last week, right? And hadn't been out there in a very long time. And it was no more complicated than, like, all right, the Nuggets are pretty legit. Let me go ahead and see what I think and almost put a scouting hat on. And they're a fantastic team. But they've got defensive questions. They've never been on the mountaintop like the Warriors have, and you can pick apart what they do and see a world that exists where the Warriors beat them again, and even though they're fully healthy now. New Orleans has got health stuff. Memphis tonight will be a fascinating game, but against Memphis talks more than anybody. They still haven't actually done it. Boston, if you're talking about pedigree, that's the one team that I think would be a hell of a matchup if they saw them again in the finals, but. It is as wide open as I can ever remember. In the West, it's wide open, down to 6-7. And I think the Warriors absolutely should have this aggressive attitude at the deadline that even with the stuff that we wrote about today and all the nuance and complications and uncomfortableness that they are trying to get through, that window is not closed. I 100% could see, this thing turn in their direction and have them on top of it.
Sam, let me ask you this. Just you as a basketball guy, do you think there's a number in terms of a seed that would make it impossible for the Warriors to run the table?
I mean, I feel like, and this is where it gets really tough for them the next couple months, because I just talked them up and said they could do it, but there's part of me that says, like, when you don't have home court in the first round, like, psychologically, I think that tugs at you. Even, if you get out of the first round, and so it's going to be obviously incredibly hard for them to get up to top 4. Going from play-in to the title, I don't know. I mean, that's hard to kind of stomach as well. So, I mean, I guess my premise would be that they do find their stride down the stretch here, and they do start doing some things to look like the team that we thought they were going to be again. I don't have the history in front of me. As you guys know, I think the Rockets were one of the lowest back in the day to win a title, with the low seed. It just doesn't happen all that often. Some of this stuff, you can focus on narrative all you want. History is a pretty good indication of future, and they need to work their way up the standings.
You talk about night and day, Sam, or the biggest metamorphosis I've seen a player go through from maybe not playing good to great is Jordan Poole. And I'll come in some days and ask Steiny, what was he doing? And he's like, oh, you're putting it at his doorstep, and I'm not, because I know what he is. But are you at all shocked at what you've seen from him this year? Because I'm a bit disappointed. That might be strong. I know he's a badass, Sam, but, you could say, hey, he's not starting, but I feel like, this arrow was going aimed so high, I feel like it's just come down some. What do you see from Jordan Poole?
Yeah, I mean, listen, he's an offensive player, and he's a guy that is, 2-3 years from now, he's going to be a significantly better defender than he is now. I think with good coaching and development and hard work, like, that's just a fact. Steph Curry got better on the defensive end, but that's the long game, and that doesn't help this Warriors team. And then you add into that on the offensive end. I wrote this at the time. Like, first of all, this whole entire season could have been derailed if Jordan decided to handle the Draymond situation a different kind of way. So I think we can't forget that. Like, he allowed them to even have a shot at this because he kind of took the high road. Not kind of. He did take the high road in that situation. But, you know, his style of play and the reality that, you know, I'm sure he believes that he'd be a starter on the vast majority of teams, that's an imperfect fit. It's an imperfect relationship. And that's going to lead to imperfect results. And, you know, that's where this summer, I know I'm getting ahead of myself, but this summer is going to be really interesting. If you go down that rabbit hole of, okay, the Warriors did not defend their title, you know, and then let's say fell short, you know, early on in the playoffs, you know, I mean, it's become a game of musical chairs. You know, who's got to go? Clay, Draymond, maybe Jordan. You know, you talk to people about it, like, if they want to run it back, if they do get deep in the playoffs, then, you know, Jordan certainly would have value. And I guess to take it back to Bob's situation, that's where, you know, only he knows, but he's got a lot to chew on because this is going to potentially be a really challenging, uncomfortable summer.
Sam, as always, we love it. Thanks you so much. Appreciate it. And hope to talk to you soon, man.
You got it, guys. Appreciate you. Be good.
Yes, sir.